Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 12. Aftermath, Part 2. About half an hour or so later, she was just vocalizing a familiar song while I ran a longer brush through her freaky moving hair stuff, whatever it was. So that's the sight Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash saw when they walked in on us. Celestia immediately moved away, barely giving them a chance to see what was going on. For my part, I surreptitiously slid the brush into a pocket, hoping neither would notice. Fluttershy was thanking the servant that guided them in when Rainbow Dash said,
"There sure weren't any wonderbolts out there. I just spent a few hours looking at stupid birds."
Is she really just gonna ignore it? After a second of thought, I blinked. Oh, right. They're ponies. If they didn't explicitly see something, it didn't happen. Naive as all hell.
"Oh, I know.
Fluttershy said.
It was wonderful. There were so many different types there. More than I've ever seen."
Fluttershy and a slightly blushed Celestia moved off to one side of the room to discuss birds, leaving me and Rainbow Dash alone. Normally, Fluttershy is, well, shy. But when you get her talking about animals, it is sometimes hard to shut her up.
You know, Navarone, it's not too late for us to sneak away. I'm pretty fast, even with you slowing me down. They probably wouldn't notice us gone until we were already home.
I grimaced at the thought of flying that far. Nope. I fear we're stuck here, at least for the time being. We're in the palace as royal guests, so if nothing else, we'll be treated very well.
You and Fluttershy, maybe. I think some of the servants here might be upset with me for a little stunt I pulled back during the gala a little while back.
Yeah, I heard tales of that. Still, the worst you'll have to deal with is a drafty room and ratty bed sheets. And we'll probably be berthed near each other, so if all else fails, you can just go bunk with Fluttershy.
What's that about being birthed? And what makes you think I wouldn't rather sleep in your bed?
I raised an eyebrow at that. Berthing? That's with an E, not an I. Is a naval term for a bunk or bed. And I figure Fluttershy would probably be a lot warmer than I am. She's considerably more furry, if nothing else. Yes, I did learn some interesting things from Big Macintosh, but I didn't learn any names. She might have a crush on Fluttershy or she might not. Either way, I figured she'd be quicker to share her bed than mine.
Yeah, right. You're too funny to sleep with anyway.
I decided not to go poking my head indoors late at night while I was here. The lull in our conversation coincided with a lull in the other conversation in the room, and Celestia quickly took steps to get out of talking more about birds.
Would you all like to see more of Canterlot? I can arrange a tour. Sadly, I can't spend any more time with you today, as I have pressing matters elsewhere to take care of.
We decided to go on the tour, lacking much else to do. All three of us are famous for some reason or another, apparently. Rainbow Dash is relatively famous for winning some competition a little while ago in Cloudsdale, and being the only person to pull off a sonic rainboom. Basically, she broke the sound barrier, and because of the magic here, that released a massive rainbow, or something like that. Fluttershy was apparently a famous model at some point in her life, if you can imagine that. I'm not going to pretend to be a judge of appearances for ponies, so I couldn't tell you how she looked. But I know she was graceful enough for it. And me? Well, I draw glances wherever I go, just by being me. It's like a white guy walking into a black club. The DJ's disc scratches, the music cuts off, and all the conversations die off. And everyone just looks up at you. Put short, it's awkward. Ponyville had at least gotten used to me, but this place hadn't had the dubious honor of my presence for as long. Thankfully, the ponies in Canterlot have a lot more tact than the down-to-earth country ponies of Ponyville. While they did stare, they didn't rush their children inside at the first sight of me, or whisper rude comments that I could half hear. That might have had something to do with the small royal guard squad we had with us, though. It was a nice city, but I was too busy making faces at some little colts that were following us to pay much attention. As soon as one got the courage to get close to us, I'd turn around and make a scary face or something and they'd run away again, only to repeat the process. Rainbow Dash thought it was funny. while Fluttershy was doing her best to pretend to not be part of our group. The royal guards were all stony-faced. I managed to make one smirk with a particularly off-colored joke that I won't reprint here. But one of his partners hit him and he went back to his stoniness. During that little episode of making the guards smile, I didn't notice one of the cults getting closer until he asked me,
Mister, where are you?
I stared, surprised, then I smiled. I'm a monster.
What kind of monster?
The kind that eats kids that ask questions.
Good thing there aren't any goats around then.
What the? Oh yeah. Don't stop at lamb chops. Perhaps I'd like to nibble at ponies that ask too many questions as well. That got his attention, but he quickly responded,
I don't think you'd have a royal escort and 2 pretty mares with you if that was true.
Rainbow Dash cracked up at being called pretty, while Fluttershy just blushed. Suave. This'll be fun. Maybe these two are just my tribute, and the royal guards are here to see me out of town so I don't nab anyone else on the way.
If that's the case, then why should I fear you? They'll just protect me if you try to eat me.
You're assuming they'll care. Who knows? They might think it's a good idea to set an example of those that ask too many questions.
Would you be willing to risk that?
I put on an evil smile, making sure my canines were visible. The better question is, would you? That shut him up for a minute, but he just stared right back at it.
I don't think you're gonna eat those 2.
Yeah, they're too skinny. I mean, look at this one. I poked Rainbow Dash. Flesh and bone, no meat on there. The other one, though, she might be tender enough. I patted Fluttershy in the side. All I got for my efforts were one mean look, one scared look, and another hidden smile from one of the guards.
No, I mean, they're not trying to escape. If you're about to eat me, I think they'd be running away.
Maybe they don't want to escape. Have you ever tried being eaten? It might be really fun.
It doesn't sound like much fun.
I bet both of these two would disagree if I started eating them out. Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash both kicked me, and all the guards burst out laughing. The kid looked completely confused. Rainbow Dash finally decided to step in.
First things first, look at who's calling who flesh and bone. You barely even have any skin on you. I know, because I was there when that scaly thing thought you were dinner. And second off, he's a human. They're a species of mostly jerks that live in another dimension. And third, he doesn't eat ponies, he only eats cults. So beat it, before he decides he's hungry and grabs you.
With that, and an even more confused look on his face, he fled. Rainbow Dash looked at me and just said,
Humans are so weird.
I can't really deny that, but I think the same could be said about ponies. The rest of the city was nice. There were plenty of monuments detailing events that I had no clue about, but I guess it's kind of like what visiting DC is like for most Americans. The 3 of us ate dinner with the princesses. Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy made sure to snag the seats next to Celestia, showing clear favoritism. Thankfully, Luna behaved, meaning I didn't have any problems sitting next to her. Not so thankfully. She dragged me off to the palace gardens after we were finished.
Scaring fools is not a good way to make friends, you know,
she said. Keep her occupied, don't give her hints, and be ready to run. Let's do this. Yeah, sure, but it's fun.
From what I heard, though, you didn't so much scare him as confuse the poor colt. I think he'll be having an awkward conversation with his parents soon.
We all gotta learn stuff like that at some time. I don't know where you heard about that anyway.
I have my sources.
Maybe she spoke to the guards? Or worse, maybe she's watching me. As though reading my thoughts, she said.
It's amazing what the gods will talk about sometimes. It appears as though you made quite an impression on them.
Well, from the looks of them, it takes something special to get them to laugh like that.
Not just that, though. Apparently you were closeted away with my sister again for some time. It's rare that they leave her alone for so long, let alone twice with the same person. I am somewhat curious as to what she had to do to get them to leave her in peace for so long.
What can I say? I'm a disarming kind of guy,
I'm sure.
she said in a very dry tone.
What did you two talk about?
Trap question. It could be a simple question, small talk, or it could be an attempt to see if we're talking behind her back. I decided on an easy answer. This and that. She doesn't have many people to talk to and have a conversation with, so that's what we did. A true answer, and it opens her up. If she pushes for more, I know something is up. And this way, I look innocent in that I didn't understand the true purpose of her asking.
You weren't saying anything bad about me, I hope.
Voila. She smiled. My answer could mean a lot, but when a woman has the option of taking something in a way that makes them feel better about themselves, I found that they'll take it that way. Unless the other option is an insult, in which case they'll always choose the option that makes the guy to be out a villain.
Ever the charmer, I see,
she said sarcastically. I'm a hopeless romantic. What can I say? I answered with just as much sarcasm, not quite liking where this was going.
One of these days, your tongue is going to get you into trouble.
That's why I'm friends with two princesses. They usually have some good sway in whose tongues get cut off when.
And what if one of the ponies you get into trouble with are those two princesses?
She asked, lifting an eyebrow. I'll play them off each other and end up scot-free while they bicker and fight. She snorted and said,
I'll have to remember that.
Besides, surely you wouldn't want me to lose my tongue. I make much nicer sounds with it than I would without it.
I don't know. All mares like stallions that listen, and without a tongue, you'd be doing a lot less talking and a lot more listening.
Note to self, talk a lot more often. I also heard all girls like a guy that can make them laugh. It'd be a lot harder to do without a tongue.
We can get you a silly hat,
she answered with a smirk. My lady, I said, feigning shock. I am no mere jester.
We can teach you to play an instrument, so that you can serenade us while we talk to the stallions that don't make us mad enough to cut off their tongues.
If I had to listen to a man that boring, I'd rather beat myself to death with the instrument than play it. I deadpanned.
We can remove your ears as well.
This is getting a little morbid. But then I won't be able to take orders, or tell if I hit a false note. I could play terribly and never hear the order to stop. She grimaced at that, and I could well agree. If nothing else, it would be a nice revenge.
Yes, you might drive away the other stallions.
I've been doing you a favor. Believe me, anyone worth listening to will probably manage to infuriate you at least once.
That reminds me, you never did thank me.
What? For trying to get me killed? I shot back. After all, you could have killed that thing instantly instead of trying to fight it with hooves. She looked unduly alarmed at that.
What do you mean? I tried to save you.
Yeah, and it was your fault I was in that position at all.
How did you... I didn't know Dash was going to do that. I was supposed to be the pony to save you.
Wait, what?
What did you mean by, it was my fault?
I very slowly said, you could have used magic to kill it instantly. What did you mean? She turned bright red enough so that I was able to tell that she was blushing even though it was getting dark out. Instead of answering though, her horn lit up and she instantly teleported off. Well, at least I'll have something to talk to Celestia about the next time I see her. On that note, I decided it would be best if we went to sleep, so I went to bed. Or should I say I went to my room, only to find my bed being occupied by a very flustered Fluttershy. I thought this was my room, I said, hastily jumping off a somewhat lumpy Fluttershy. I didn't turn any lights on when I entered, and just went straight to bed.
It is? Rainbow Dash came into my room early at night, saying her room was cold. She ended up taking up most of the bed, and she was really hoovesy. So I came here since I thought it was empty. That's a problem. I can go find another one.
Nah, I'll just stay in her room. I don't think I'll be sleeping much anyway. Instead of trying to sleep, I paced back and forth across the floor of Rainbow Dash's room, trying to figure out what Luna meant. It's not like she could have instigated an animal attack, right? Although the thing came charging right at me, it completely skipped the hoedown and ignored Luna even as she attacked it. Could she have actually been the cause? After thinking for a few seconds, I started putting pieces together. That leaf in her hair, the one from the Everfree. What Celestia said about Luna trying to impress someone, and Luna made it pretty obvious how she felt. Maybe she really was trying to impress me. Why the fuck would she do that? And better yet, why would she try doing it like that of all ways? I shuddered as a brisk spring wind blew through the window, shaking me from the deep thoughts. I can tell Rainbow Dash left the room after... Wait. The inner FPS gamer in my head had noticed all the normal sounds of the palace at night, and something new was added to them. I could hear a slight flapping, like a bird trying to escape a cage. I walked over to where I left a lit candle and lifted it up, trying to get a better look but dreading what I would find. In its small, flickering light, I beheld a half-moth, half-something, all-monster thing that looked like it was a lot more poisonous than I had poison resistance. I'm not going to lie or sugarcoat it. I fucking screamed and booked it. Pulling out my knife didn't even cross my mind. Thankfully, I managed to not drop the candle, so the flame was extinguished in my mad flight. I managed to rip the doors open, almost off its hinges, and I probably slammed it so loudly that I woke half the palace. I was scrambling on the door for the locks when a guard came up behind me, put his hoof on my shoulder, and I almost received a bloody nose for the trouble. It was one of Luna's night guards. "What is going on?" he asked me. "Big moth thing!" I yelled, pointing to the door. He shouldered me aside and slowly pushed the door open. Sure enough, the very big moth thing was definitely still there. The door was quickly slammed shut again, with the two of us now scrambling for a lock. Some guard he is. We were at it until more guards were called, and they thought they were enough to take on whatever the hell that thing was. And of course, when they opened the door again, the beast was gone, probably having flown back into the night. "Shit," I said. "I thought this place was supposed to be the nexus of happiness and love. What the dick was that?" At least I knew I wasn't crazy, since there was at least one guard that saw the damn thing.
Navarone, why are you trying to wake my castle?
A calm voice asked. Celestia had arrived, to her usual fanfare, everyone bowing in her direction.
I hope nothing is terribly amiss.
I quickly noticed something off about her appearance. Nah, nothing too bad. Just some giant moth thing hovering my room, possibly trying to murder me.
Your room is down the hall. I believe that is Rainbow Dash's room. Why are you outside of it and panicking instead of outside of your room and panicking?
Rainbow Dash got cold and went to Fluttershy's room to sleep. Rainbow Dash isn't much of a bedfellow, and Fluttershy isn't much for pointing things like that out, so she went to go sleep in my room. I wasn't going to sleep that much anyway, so I went to Rainbow Dash's room since it was empty and I needed to think. And then some big thing flew in the window with possibly murderous intent.
You said it was a moth. How did you know it wasn't just drawn to a light?
All I had in there was a barely flickering candle. There were tons of brighter things out there. Whatever the beast had in mind, natural moth-like tendencies towards light were not involved.
Did anybody else see it?
Yeah. A night guard came rushing when I shouted. I looked around for the fellow, but in the excitement, it seemed, had been too much for him and he was nowhere to be seen. Odd. It was just here. Anyone see one of Luna's guards walk away? One of the day guards spoke up, refuting my claim. There were no guards posted in this area, Princess. You told us to give us guests there's no sign that they were confined, so we didn't think of any guards here would be needed. The disturbance was reported by a servant that was coming to check on the guests to see if they had any needs. The only way a guard would have been here would be by his own volition. I don't care what he says. There was a guard here that saw what I saw. Not like he did anything with it in terms of protecting me. He was just as eager as I was to get the door shut.
Are you sure you didn't just have a bad dream?
Lizzie asked.
I know Twilight mentioned that you seemed plagued by them at one time.
My definition of bad dream is memories of a home that I was rudely ripped from, not monsters. Monsters are easy to escape, and they go away when you wake up. Fond memories haunt you forever. I was awake when it happened anyway, so I know it's not a dream.
Are you sure you weren't just seeing things? You said it was dark. You could have just been imagining it.
Yeah, it could have been possible, but it was rather unlikely. For one, the beast was still there when I opened the door with the guard to check, and for two, I heard the thing when it was inside. I could hear the gentle humming of its wings as it hovered in place.
If you are certain of what you saw, then I'll have the guards look outside for it and keep a lookout in the other rooms of the palace in case it reappears. I know a creature that fits the description, but I haven't heard of one being sighted in many, many years. We shall talk about it more in the morning, as I wouldn't want to keep all of you awake for any longer than necessary. Please go back to your beds, my guests. This matter will be taken care of.
That was when I first saw Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were also awake, and looking at me with apparent concern. Fine, we can table it until morning, I said. But there's more to talk about than just that, and I'd rather have you alone to discuss it, Princess, if you don't mind the temerity of me asking. She arched an eyebrow but said,
Of course. I don't mind. Guards, go about your business and look for any signs of this creature. Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy, feel free to go back to bed. Navarone, we can have another room drawn up for you, if you wish.
No, I don't think I'll be getting any sleep tonight. You got any big rooms with lots of books? In hindsight, I probably should have guessed that some servant was really annoyed with those proceedings and would lead me straight to the Royal Treasury record room instead of the library. But at least there I was able to snatch a few hours of troubled sleep and physical, if not mental, peace. I know I said I didn't feel tired, but hell, it's amazing what extreme paranoia added onto the literal fear of getting your face eaten does to you. When I finally got settled on the floor of the musty treasury chamber, I wasn't sitting for 2 minutes before I fell out. And because of everything about that trip seemed destined to make me feel bad, I got woken up by getting kicked into the ribs by a very hard hoof. Apparently the servant that thought to play the joke of putting me there didn't mention my presence to the incoming treasurer, and he was trying to get what he considered an unwelcome intruder out of his hair. Fucking stuck-up bureaucrats, man. There wasn't such a good place to stop this time around, so hey, that's just where we're gonna go because that seems to be the transition between day to day. But let's talk about this chapter. What the fuck did Luna do? Like, that whole conversation of, you tried to get me killed.
What?
What? Was just fucking great. And now there's a moth creature. Huh. I can't wait to get the next chapter out for you guys. Hopefully it should be done next week, especially considering the pace I've been actually able to go for my past 2 weeks, which has been really nice. I always love making these just as much as you guys love to listen. However, those people I also love are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, my tier 1s, Bounds Kindness, Chase Lemaster, Junus Portal, Hyperlink, Jason, HK4, aka Texture, Lord High, Nightingale, Macario, Pony Entertainment, Starlight Blaze, Rainflicker, and Tyler Perry. A large thank you to my tier 2s, Captain Blue Shadow, Chaotic Mist, The Animated Ghost, DJ Max 2000, Elemental Wolf, H1 Wolf King, Potato 20, Mr. Crazy Deacon, Solar Comet, 212th Trooper, Mackenzie McCullis, Nocturne, Papa Leonard, Redeemer of Dark Souls, Eclipse Sword Brother Mordred, Artie Bryant, Rihanna Dragonwolf, and Steel Spark. A big thank you to my previous Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Danish Dash, Maverick, and User 1842. And the largest thank you to my current ones, Bis Eclipse and Silent Titan. Expect the next upload to be that new series I was talking about. Lots of editing to do with at least the start of it, so we'll see how it goes. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.